Hey, what's up you guys? Willie Jacob here to bring you my review of Supernatural Season 11. Finally got through all 11 seasons, guys. I did general reviews on each season as I finished it, and now I finally finished Season 11, and I will be watching the first 8 episodes that have aired of Season 12 so far, and be caught up in time for the mid-season premiere on January 26th. Very excited to get caught up with everyone and be able to do weekly reviews on the show. I'm very excited. Supernatural has become pretty much my favorite show of all time, so I'm excited to be able to do videos on it that often. And Season 11, I have the DVD copy here. Pretty cool cover, I think. I'll give you a look at the back of it. Pretty awesome, guys. I really like this season. It's probably within my top few favorite seasons of the series, I think. It's hard to say because every season has something I love about it. Even probably my least favorite season 7, it has things I really like about it. It's really hard to compare. At some point I'm probably going to do a video ranking the seasons, but Supernatural, it's probably the most damn consistent show I've ever seen. And really just what makes one season my favorite or something, it really just depends on the story, I guess, and what clicked with me more than things that have already clicked with me anyway. So really it's just about picking favorite bits of the show as a whole, I guess. And so Season 11, I think it does rank up there among at least like my top 5 favorite seasons of the show, I think. I'll have to think about it a little bit more. But right now, yeah, it was definitely a really good one. Even the people that say Supernatural turned to shit after Season 5, they really like Season 11, saying it was the best since Season 5. And while I think the show, it took a little bit of a dip after Season 5, I still thought Season 6 was pretty good. Season 7 was my least favorite, but still had some good things going for it, I thought. Season 8, it got better. 9, it got even better. 10 was good as well. And then 11... guys, Supernatural is just awesome, okay? There's no bad season, okay? And as always, I'm not going to be able to go into, all the details of the season, and it'd take way too long to try and remember all the bits of the main story, as well as, little bits in the cases of the week and stuff like that. But, I will briefly touch on each episode. And, so let's get into it. Of course, the first episode of the season, episode 1, Out of the Darkness into the Fire, a pretty good one, in the aftermath of the darkness being released, Sam and Dean meet a young sheriff's deputy who claims people have been going rabid and killing each other. Castiel struggles to control himself from inflicting more violence due to Rowena's attack dog spell, while Crowley regroups after narrowly escaping Castiel's attempt on his life. This whole darkness, the way they were, it was the way she was infecting people, Amara was infecting people initially, it reminded me a lot of, the Croatoan virus that they did, in the earlier seasons. It almost was the exact same thing, minus, the black veins and stuff coming up on their necks. So in a way it was a little bit familiar, but at the same time I do kind of like setups like that on Supernatural, almost as close as we're going to get to like a zombie type of movie setup, really. So I still do enjoy these types of episodes and threats pretty well. Episode 2, Form and Void. While Sam continues to deal with the Rapids situation in his own deteriorating state, Dean is called back by Jenna when baby Amara begins exhibiting dangerous traits. And I'll talk more about Amara in a minute. But yeah, another fine episode to start off. I was kind of surprised that I killed off Jenna so quickly. I kind of felt like she was being set up as more of a reoccurring character for the season, but they killed her off. Episode 3, The Bad Seed. With Castiel's condition worsening, Sam and Dean go on the hunt for Rowena to remove the curse. As Amara begins educating herself on the current state of the universe, Crowley attempts to manipulate her for his own personal gain. And I'll talk about Rowena after I come on episode 4 here. Episode 4, Baby. Really, really good episode. I highly enjoyed it. This is probably one of the most different episodes of Supernatural. It was really simple, yet the way they filmed it I thought was really creative. They also had most of the music removed from it, minus what was actually playing at the locations they were filming at, in the show. Like at the bars or on the Impala's radio and such. And it's also mostly filmed from the perspective of the Impala. And I thought that actually worked pretty well, And just to have sort of that more silent, like a form of silence throughout, I thought it added an interesting tone and feel to the show. And I really enjoyed it. Some people might have said this is boring or something, but I thought it was a really well-worked episode. And, Supernatural, for as long as it's been on, they kind of have to come up with some different stuff like this once in a while. And in this case, I think it worked tremendously, if anyone ever says that anymore. But yeah, really good one. In episode 5, Thin Lizzy, Sam sort of has this interest in serial killers, so they get to investigate Lizzie Borden's house. Of course, it's not exactly the spirit of Lizzie Borden or anything, but I still thought it was a decent enough episode. Again, there's little bits of the story that I'm not touching on right now, but again, if you've seen the season, you've seen it. But episode 6, Our Little World, Sam and Dean make the decision to kill Amara. Meanwhile, Castiel tracks down Metatron in hopes of gaining new information on the darkness. Excuse me. But Amara, as a villain, in the season, I actually really did like her quite a bit. I thought she was one of the better villains on the show. Not the best. I still think that probably has to go to either like Lucifer or maybe the Yellow-Eyed Demon, for me anyway. But I do think Amara was probably one of the better villains and main threats on the show over the last few seasons at least. And I did like her, and just the whole setup with her being, God's sister, as it's eventually revealed, and, actually being introduced to God, finding out it's, Chuck in the late part of the season. I thought that was all done pretty well, and it made the season feel really important and really, have a lot of weight to it, especially when they bring back Lucifer in episode 9, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But I thought Amara worked pretty well as the antagonist for the season, and her and Dean's connection was kind of intriguing. I kind of wish they would have gone a little bit deeper into it, but it did work in the way they were going for, I think, for the most part. Episode 7, Plush. Sheriff Donna calls on Sam and Dean to help in a case involving people driven to murder after donning costumes. So the one that most promoted in this episode is like a bunny mask. So it was kind of, it was a more of a, case of the week episode, but I still thought it was a pretty fun one for sure. Episode 8, Just My Imagination. Sam's old imaginary friend Sully comes back into his life looking for his help after learning other imaginary friends are being mysteriously killed. Again, another, case of the week type of episode, but I still thought it was, damn entertaining, even Sully, he was kind of played pretty well. Of course, it had, like, a cheesiness to it just because of the whole imaginary friend thing, but then you're reminded, it's still supernatural because we have the mermaid being, killed in the pool, so... I still thought it was an enjoyable enough one. It sort of ties back to Sam's feeling of loneliness and not belonging during his childhood and such. Episode 9, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Amara unleashes her full power in her search for God while Dean attempts to understand the connection they have. Sam, Crowley, and Rowena devise a plan to communicate with Lucifer and Hell. Really, really fantastic episode. It's probably one of the best of the season, I think. Just to have Lucifer brought back into the story like this. We knew it should happen at some point. Like, I, for one, had accidentally seen, like, the title of the YouTube video, so I knew Lucifer would be appearing again in Season 11. But I still thought it worked really well the way they tied him back into the story. And it really added an old weight to the show, that we hadn't felt since, he was dealt with in Season 5. And Mark Pellegrino, I just think he really excels in the role. And just the music they played to it, the way they shot Lucifer hanging in the cage, especially a shot of him standing in the dark and his eyes being lit up, I thought was just awesome. It worked really well. Let's see. Okay, and the wiki I'm on here just decides not to work anymore, so that's fun. Just give me a second here, guys. Alright. Okay, episode 10, The Devil in the Details. Again, sort of continuing from that setup I told you about, with Sam at the mercy of Lucifer. Dean ventures down to hell to save him. Meanwhile, Castiel looks into the fog of the massive angel smiting that hit Amara. Amara tanks an angel smiting, coming down from her from the sky. That was an awesome scene, by the way. Definitely one of the biggest visuals we've gotten on the show. That's another thing. I think the show has probably gotten a little bit of a bigger budget as it's gone along. We've seen more like magical CG effects used and stuff. I think it's looked pretty good, for being a TV show and such. Even though Supernatural doesn't have the budget of movies, it's the damn best story I've ever seen. Better than any movie. So but still the effects are nice. When they do put them in. But yeah, and we gotta look at hell. We were actually in hell this season, and some people probably expected it to look more like stereotypically full of fire and stuff like that. But I actually like the vibe they gave to it, sort of just that black with the lightning flashing, just bleak nothingness. I thought it actually worked pretty well as far as the look of hell goes. Episode 11, Into the Mystic. Sam and Dean go on the hunt for a banshee that has been causing the residents of a retirement home to kill themselves. Another pretty good one. Not a whole lot to say about it, though. Of course, they did have a little bit more of Lucifer in this episode, and the main threat with the banshee and such. I thought it was entertaining enough, and as well as the old lady, of course, always flirting with one of the brothers. So there's that. Episode 12, Don't You Forget About Me. Claire calls on Sam and Dean, believing a monster is behind a recent rash of missing people. Really good episode. Probably one of the other best episodes of the season, in my opinion, or at least one of my favorites, along with episode 9 and 10. I really like Claire as a character, and I hope we see more of her in season 12. I don't know if she's shown up again yet or not. But I do like that they've kept her alive this long, and of course seeing Jody still taking care of her and sort of juggling, looking after her, as well as Alex. It's good to see Alex again in this episode as well. And just to sort of see that tie back when we do find out there are vampires, coming back for her and such. I like that tie-in back to her past and such, instead of her just all of a sudden turning into a slight popular teen. I'm glad they added a little bit more weight to her again. So I really enjoyed this episode. And some people even brought up if they do a Supernatural spin-off, it should be about Jody Mills, Claire, and Alex, perhaps. And then maybe they could have Castiel cameo sometimes or something. That might actually be a pretty good spin-off idea. But we'll see what they do eventually if they do that. Episode 13, Love Hurts. While investigating a pair of murders, Sam and Dean learn that they are dealing with a curse, which marks the victims for death after sharing a kiss. This dealt with this whole affair set up with the babysitter. Again, not like one of these standout episodes, but Supernatural is always entertaining, so this is another fine one. Again, there's probably little moments I'm forgetting to include, but I did really enjoy it. Episode 14, The Vessel. Dean is sent back to 1943 by Lucifer to retrieve a weapon to stop Amara called the Hand of God, which was lost on an ill-fated submarine mission during World War II. Really like this one. I just like the different setting of it being on a submarine and Nazis coming after them and such, and figure they do have some kind of supernatural evil force backing them. I also like the female woman of letters in this episode too. I thought she made for a pretty good one-off character, so I like that. Episode 15, Beyond the Mat. After attending a wrestling show in honor of recently deceased wrestler, Sam and Dean find themselves with the case when more dead bodies begin dropping. Pretty good one. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a little kid, so it's kind of good to see brothers go to a show, and stuff. And they even have the Miz on this one. The Miz isn't in it for very long, but it's still kind of funny seeing him in it. Gunnar Lawless, who is played by Alex Penovic. We've seen him in an episode of Supernatural before. I think it was during the one with the actor who played Jim from The Walking Dead, when he was turning into a dog and such, and he was one of the other dogs he was dealing with. But I always thought they should have given him a better role on the show, and this one was a better one. He got a little more screen time. He got a more interesting character for sure. So I thought the whole story there was pretty good. And then the deal he made, to gain what fame he had and how that was weighing on him and such. So I liked it. Episode 16, Safe House. When a creature is released in an old house, leaving a mother and daughter in a coma, Sam and Dean investigate and find that Bobby and Rufus hunted the same creature a handful of years ago. Really good episode. It's always good to see them somehow have Bobby show up again. And this is a good tie back to show like one of Bobby and Rufus's cases. They sort of like cut it back and forth with what Sam and Dean were figuring out in the present. And there's even this moment where they sort of talk about how there's like this blur between like past and present, like this line or this area where it's sort of one and the same. And there's a moment where Dean and Bobby actually see each other again. And it's like they both realized they hadn't before, and it was like a new thing, like they finally did see each other again, but they were both in different time periods. But just to see Dean and Bobby briefly connect like that, even for the slightest second before they both vanish, I thought was pretty touching. It was a big moment for sure. I'd still like them to bring Bobby back permanently somehow, like even for the last season or something. I think that'd be awesome, but it's always good to see how he's worked back into the story somehow. Episode 17, Red Meat. After Sam gets shot during a werewolf hunt, Dean takes drastic measures to ensure Sam does not die. Really good episode. Again, probably one of my other favorites of the season, along with episode 9, 10, the Claire episode, and probably the Bobby one I just talked about. Probably one of the more self-serious, like Case of the Week episodes, I'd say. And, by now we've seen the brothers, literally come back from hell and be brought back quite a few times. But just to see, like, Sam actually get shot and, supposedly die, it's still an unnerving sight for sure. Just sort of like jolts you. It's like, oh, cases can still go wrong like that. So I thought this was a very good episode. I liked the whole isolated feel in the cabin, for part of the episode. And to see that guy actually try to smother Sam just so he could survive, it was very, sort of raw. And I'm glad Sam survived, though, of course. And I also want to add that we also find out that, the Reaper named Billy, she says there's going to be no coming back for him. Once one of them dies, they're gone for good. There's going to be no angel that can come and pull them back out. They're done, juggling all that. So... that's one, like criticism of Supernatural you could bring up. Oh, they come back from so much, and now when there's any threat to them, we don't really feel as worried for the characters. But now it's basically known that if one of them actually dies, it's probably going to be for good. So that really add some tension into the last season if they are going to kill off one of them, I think. But yeah, really good episode. I like how the whole werewolf boyfriend thing played out towards the end. Episode 18, Hell's Angel, as Lucifer attempts to assert himself into a position of power in heaven. Excuse me. Crowley locates the Horn of Joshua and calls on Sam and Dean to help take down Amara. As far as Lucifer taking over Castiel goes, I get why Castiel said yes, because he had thought that they did need Lucifer, and he didn't want Sam to go through it or Dean or anything like that. I do kind of wish they would have kept Lucifer and Mark Pellegrino in the original Vessel's body. That's probably because I'm biased and just like the actor so much from his work on Being Human. And Lucifer was really well written this season. Don't get me wrong, but I just think it would have worked even better if they had kept him in the same body instead of just putting him in Castiel's. Although Misha Collins, I think he did a fine job, portraying the personality and behavior and such. As well as Lucifer. He was held captive by, as well as Crowley, he was held captive by Lucifer and sort of just made a mockery of in front of, all the other demons. And I found it kind of weird how ever since we've seen Crowley, just, how much power Crowley has, when Sam tried to kill him, back in season 10, the whole, him going red eyes and basically just being unstoppable. It's weird that we haven't seen Crowley go red eyes since, I know, he probably couldn't, kill Lucifer or anything, but I feel like he tried to do that, to keep himself alive again at some point, under such big threats like this. So I feel it's kind of like a case with the originals, where they show how powerful Klaus is, when all of a sudden he won't activate his full hybrid powers just because they want to make, the writers want to make a situation more difficult for a character. I don't know. I just feel like Crowley will have tried to use his powers like that again at some point, but it is what it is, I guess. But still, pretty good episode. I do like Crowley, stepping up and sort of still having ways to try and maneuver himself out of this and go against him. The Chitters, episode 19. Sam Dean team up with a pair of married hunters looking for bisons that have been attacking the people of a small town in Colorado every 27 years. And we get this opening of, this guy's brother being killed when he was a kid and such. I thought the effects for him with, the green glowing eyes, it looked pretty cool. So yeah, another fine episode. They even debate, recruiting them to go against Amara. But, once they actually have, a plan and are happy with exacting their vengeance, they don't want to, keep them dragged into it. Episode 20. Don't Call Me Shurley. When Amara unleashes a dark fog on a small town, causing residents to go rabid, Sam and Dean attempt to protect the town. Meanwhile, Chuck returns with a proposition for Metatron. And of course, right around this time, we find out that Chuck is actually God. And at first, I was a little bit, skeptical about it, because it's okay, we want God to be this, big, powerful force, that has to answer for why he didn't do this and that. And he was just pretending to be Chuck, this guy named Chuck the whole time. Okay, we kind of want him to be a little more, as my brother said, badass or imposing than that. And I kind of felt the same way at first, but I do think Chuck being God did work pretty well. It sort of made him feel more human, more flawed, like we find out he is as the end of the season goes along. So I did think it ended up working pretty well. I like the conversation him and Metatron had. Interesting how Metatron actually had some legitimate points and, sort of pokes in his sails against him. And of course, Chuck does end up helping him out at the end. And episode 21. After Chuck reveals himself to the Winchesters, Amara begins reaching out to Dean through visions with help of Metatron and a new prophet. Donatello, Sam and Dean devise a plan to rescue Lucifer before Amara kills him. So I really like this. Once Chuck was revealed as God, I think this season, was just put on another level entirely. With the season already feeling pretty big due to Amara being God's sister, this having God actually brought in, finally, I think was, really added to the season. And especially the initial scene at the bunker, with Dean sort of just asking God why he wasn't there, why he didn't do anything about this and that throughout human history, the people who always suffer, sort of asking a lot of questions, sort of non-believers or sort of people who are sort of skeptical of it, that sort of put against him. So I thought the dialogue with that was really interesting, and along with Jensen Ackles' acting was, of course, excellent in that scene. I really like this one as well. And they do manage to rescue Lucifer. Metatron actually takes one for the team, which, Dean said he didn't see coming. But I thought Metatron actually worked pretty well in these last couple episodes. Episode 22, We Happy Few. With the aid of Lucifer, Crowley, and Rowena, the Winchesters and Chuck pull together the resources of heaven and hell to take the fight to Amara. Really good one. I almost thought this was going to be better than the actual finale, which is just says how good this episode was. Finale is still great, but this is a really good one nonetheless. We sort of get the dream team assembled here. And again, even though I wish they had kept Mark Pellegrino as Lucifer, I do think Misha Collins did a good job, again, playing off the personality and such of the character. And just to see this team up against Amara was pretty cool. The montage of all of them being brought into it and such. Even Crowley gets a good hit on her with his red mist coming out and such. His soul, the smoke and such. And then God's supposed to go against her right when she's weak. And Lucifer even gets a good stab on her with this special spear and such, which is pretty cool. And again, before I talk about what happened at the end of this episode, I really liked how Lucifer was written, though. The conversations he had with God. It kind of throws you off when, like Sam said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Lucifer's right. And so I like the dialogue and the conversation Lucifer and God had. and actually seeing Lucifer come around a little bit, not actually work with them, I thought was pretty interesting. But we see by the end of it, does does backfire. She burns Lucifer out of Castiel's body, and she puts God up into the air and has these tendrils of smoke create large holes in his body, and she ends up, I thought she killed God right then and there. And then, but Amara adds, that he won't be dead until he sees his creation, burn and ruin. Still, kind of a sight seeing God, just, taken down like that. Episode 23, Alpha and Omega, really good finale, really good season finale. With Chuck dying and the world coming to an end, the Winchesters make one last desperate attempt to stop Amara that will come at a cost for both Sam and Dean. So I really like this one. I thought it was really good finale for the show. We have Dean, he's supposed to be distracting her while, they unleash this great light against her and such. But of course Amara sort of sees that coming as well during the last couple of episodes. But Dean, they still sort of have some sort of connection. I like, the dialogue between Dean and Amara here is really good. And I like that Amara wasn't just, killed somehow. I like that she was actually talked to, and that, she was able to actually see things a different way. She actually developed, and, sort of came around to, like Dean says, even when you hate your siblings, you still love them. And I like how that was used here, and Amara does eventually end up forgiving God, as far as we know. And she sort of stops doing what she's doing, and the light is brought back, and they sort of don't have to sacrifice the other with Sam taking the mark. They don't have to do that anymore, so that was good. So a different way to end it, I think. And we also have the introduction to this female man of letters who's really questioning Sam. She's played by the actress who played a character in the Vampire Diaries in season 7, so we'll see how that goes in season 12. And she shoots Sam, but Sam's obviously not going to be dead, and probably a huge reveal and a pretty big cliffhanger was, as far as we know, God's gift to Dean, because Chuck did say that alright, wait, I'm getting something mixed up here. Before they leave, Amara thanks Dean for giving her back Chuck and says that she'll also give Dean what he needs most. I forget if Amara or Chuck actually said that, but we have the return of Mary Winchester. She is supposedly brought back, and if she's like a gift from Amara and God after they had worked things out, I don't think there's gonna be anything wrong with her. But it's definitely huge, for sure, a huge tie back to the series, and it's gonna be really interesting to see what they have to say to each other, and just see the whole reunion will have a lot of weight to it for sure. Pretty good payoff, really. In a way, it might have been a good spot to end the series again, had they wanted, just to have Mary brought back, and, what bigger story are they going to have than God, God's sister, and Lucifer, but I'm still looking forward to watching the show. So at season 11, overall, really good season, like I said, probably one of my top 5 favorite seasons or so, I think. Really looking forward to catching up on season 12 and being there to review the show when it comes back on the 26th. Looking forward to that very much. I know what you guys thought about season 11. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.